Yo, this is my Yidris Sick Bro EDH deck. It's all about poisoning people. Check out the sweet arcade post token. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Only pull out this deck if you don't like people at the table, or people at the table are just cool with dying earlier in the game. I know some play groups are all about that speed. Well, this is sort of a competitive deck, so here we go. There's the colored non-basics. You can see them there on the screen. If you don't know what some of them are, just ask. But, you know, there's like 5 duels and some other duels from Ravnica and fetches and all that stuff. And then I play a bunch of basics as well. I play 14 basics because I don't like cards like Price of Progress, which do get played in my meta. You know, you don't want to take that much damage in a 4-color deck. You got to have these non-color producing lands. Inkmoth Nexus, you have to shell out money for if you plan on playing Infect. It's a very hard land to deal with. And Kessig Wolf Run and Rogue's Passage very cheap. And you can go get them with this sweet Expedition map. Booyah. Also Mana Rocks. You've got 9 Mana Rocks plus Solemn Simulacrum, who's kind of like a rampy type thing. I play Felwar Stone instead of Izzet Signet because I want to make black and green usually. Also, this is my plea to Wizards. Come on now. You cannot have a $10.44 on TCG Player mid chromatic lantern. You just can't. You printed 4-color commander decks and you're about to print 5. You have to include these in decks. Alright, so interaction and card draw spells. Vandal Blast is for your tough to deal with artifacts. Simic Charm has modes that help any of your creatures. You can bounce a thing, you can give something +3/+3, or you can give all your guys hexproof. Croson Grip is for stopping infinite combo decks because it has that split second effect, which doesn't allow any things to go on the stack. After it, Jund Charm puts counters on things, does 2 damage to all creatures, they're small, and also exiles a graveyard, which is awesome. Decimates just value. For 4 mana, 1 mana each, you can destroy 4 permanents. Vampiric Tutor, I have 1 tutor in the deck because you need that answer. Occasionally Beast Within, get a guy out of the way. And Rishkar's Expertise and Treasure Cruise are just for card draw. Rishkar has the bonus, you know, of playing one of these guys, for instance. Infect 1 and 2 drops. This is where we're starting out. I'll show you the whole roster at the end. But let me talk for a second about one of my favorite Infectors, Fallen Ferromancer. He's one of the reasons I was inspired to play Red. He's a pinger that does infect damage. So from behind the enemy lines, or whatever, behind your lines actually, you can just ping them to death with infect. I think it's fantastic. It really is. So these are my 3 and 4 drops. There's one other 4 drop right here. Hand of the Praetors. Another way, because with an infect deck, you really need to be able to deal damage without doing combat. So this one allows you to cast a spell with infect, and then they get a poison counter. And these are your big beaters, your finishers. Skithrix is in Chinese, so if you don't know what it is, I would suggest looking it up. It's the dragon on the bottom left. For 1 black, you can regenerate it, and for 2 black, you can give it haste. I think that's it. Maybe it's reverse. Anyways, so this is the Infect crew. The whole sickly, diseased, unloved by their mother's crew. Okay, so I didn't talk too much about them in the other pictures. Let's talk about them as a whole here. We've got 1/1 mana. This is a small crew, so you're going to have to make the most value out of them that you can. You know, things like Acre Clawmere do bring Corpse Curve, bring your Infectors back. Viral Drake proliferates. They have value outside of themselves, but overall, they're a ragtag crew of small critters that you depend on to do massive damage. And the good thing is, with the way EDH works, Infect is multiplied by 4. You have to keep that in mind. Any point of damage these little creatures do is actually multiplied times 4 because the total is actually 10 for poison, not 40. So if this poisoner does 2 damage, that's like doing 8 damage in a regular game. That makes it a lot better, doesn't it? 8 damage for a 2 mana card, for instance. So I wouldn't worry about whether or not you're going to be able to kill somebody, basically. You will. And there's not a lot of them, so you got to play them twice with Whip of Erebos. You got to have this in any creature deck, I think. It's got such awesome value. Have you ever noticed that all of the equipments are at 45-degree angles? I just noticed it as I was putting together this video. I think it's pretty weird. It's hard to unsee now. I know there's some that aren't, but I think most are. Anyway, go to Bandit Warlords in here because you do need to get these equipments. Blade of Cell speaks for itself in a multiplayer game. Why have one Infector when you can have 5? Umezawa's Jitte is great. You can proliferate the counters on it, and it does damage to all kinds of... In addition, Fire Shrieker gives things double strike. With Yidris, that actually triggers his Cascade effect twice. Anytime he deals combat damage, you get to Cascade that many times, basically. So, and then Sword of Feast of Famine is just a great sword. Yeah, protection from black and green. Who doesn't like that? In addition to making them discard cards, which is kind of a sweet bonus. But yeah, honestly, Blade of Cells and Umezawa's Jitte are the all-stars here. So get those when you can. Here's a pretty cool card. I like to include an oldie but a goodie. Weird cards that people overlook. Power Matrix. Look at this thing. 4 mana. And then you can just tap it. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying, first strike, trample until end of turn. Like, how much value is that? At instant speed. This is like an equipment that's better than equipment. And it was made before equipments ever came out in Mercadian Mask. You should definitely play it in more decks, I think. And here's some soft rampers, I guess, is what I call them. Group Wild Speaker is an overrun, sort of. Ronus gives everything a Rancor effect, sort of. Power Matrix, aforementioned. Rancor, the card is great value. It keeps coming back to your hand. Curse of Predation gives creatures counters, which can be proliferated to death in this deck. And then you have the weird Indian in the womb of a Spirit Bear, Bear Umbra, which is sort of like a Sword of Feast and Famine, but it protects an Infector from dying the first time, as the Spirit Bear, I don't know, makes love softly to whoever you have it on. I don't know. Anyways, these things are awesome because they kill you from out of nowhere. Tainted Strike, instant speed, gives something +1/+0, and an Infect. That includes things like Yidris, which I put this on and killed somebody with in a game. It was awesome. And then my favorite, Scarred Goliath. Look at this guy. +9/+9. When you Blood Rush it for 5 and 2 green, you discard it, and then you give something +9/+9 and trample. All your Infectors, all you need is 10. So you can put this on anything. Inkoth Nexus, Blighted Agent, game-winning card right here. And you can't spell, look at this joke, can't spell Proliferate without Pro-Life. What does that mean? I don't know, but Proliferate is awesome. All these cards have values other than proliferating, but then they just proliferate extra, which is like, why wouldn't you want to do that? I can move counters around and double people's poison? Yes, please. And then the kings and queens of that, or the Plague Baby and Plague Mommy of that, are the Contagion Sisters. So you've got the Clasp and the Engine. These things have gone way up in value since Atraxa builds have proliferated the landscape, if you would allow me to say that, which is super annoying. I'm all for people having access to cards and being able to play Commander when they want to, how they want to. So if you don't have the money for Contagion Engine and you still want to make a poison deck, proxy it. I don't care. Like, I don't think anybody at your table is going to be mad at you for proxying this card just because Wizards decided to include a busted $40 Commander in their Walmart Superstore deck that deals with counters. Like, yo, just proxy it. It's alright. I won't hate on you. I didn't even buy that deck. It's too expensive for me. So that was my poison deck. I hope you loved it. If you enjoyed the mat in the background, which is Cthulhu, go to rkpost.net. I hope you enjoyed this more competitive build, and in the comments, let me know what you thought about the new format. I'm curious what you think.